I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a greener world, it's more than a movement, it's our mission.
So we should all be composting at home. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know about you, I just never seem to make enough for all the projects I have around my garden. So when you run out, you come to a garden center like this. But have you ever wondered where they get all of their compost? Well, fortunately, there are places now all over the country making compost using the same ingredients we use at home to make ours. They're just doing it on a slightly larger scale. That'll do it, Nathan. One more bag.
Go.
Thank you, sir. Cedar Grove Composting, just outside of Seattle, Washington, is the largest facility of its kind in the world. Since 1989, they've diverted over 4 million tons of organic material from landfills and prevented tons of greenhouse gas emissions, the equivalent of removing approximately 670,000 cars from the road. Cedar Grove's complete sustainability loop takes valuable resources and converts them into earth-friendly compost used to replenish urban soils, minimize stormwater runoff, conserve water, and provide all-natural gardening solutions that minimize chemical usage and keep waterways healthy for salmon and other vital habitat communities. Susan Toman has been at Cedar Grove for a number of years, and she took some time to show me around today. All right, Susan, this is really kind of a crazy place. You pretty much have to watch your back in here, don't you?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of activity in here, and that's because there's a lot of trucks coming in, bringing in our feedstock or our materials that we make our compost out of. That a lot of it's green waste or materials from schools or corporate campuses that come here where we put it in the tipping building and we blend it up for that perfect recipe to make compost out there.
Now this is a lot of feedstock, as you call it, and it's just early in the morning, basically. Does this get turned over? How often?
Yeah, we turn this over every day. So we have the loaders coming in here, taking the material out, and it's our goal to turn it over every day.
And it start over fresh the next day.
That's right.
That's an awesome supply that you're getting in here.
Yeah, we have beautiful material that comes from our citizens and our businesses here, so we're very fortunate to have people that really do a lot of recycling here because it gives us a lot of great feedstock for our material.
Yeah. We need more of that around the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So all day long, you've got anything from a small, landscaping crew to these semis coming in here, and they're all full of debris. But the good thing is the debris is 100% compostable. Okay, now I consider it pretty amazing that when you think about all the volume that's in here, this is all pretty clean. For the most part, it's just the yard debris and some food scraps, but once in a while you'll get, the occasional plastic bottle and maybe one of these black plastic bags every now and then. Of course, we hate to see those. I mean, there's no reason for these to even ever make it to this position, but they're pretty good at Cedar Grove about looking for these and screening them out. As soon as they find one of these, out it goes. So Susan, all of these front-end loaders are now coming out of that shelter with all that debris that was inside and putting it into this device. Right. What's happening? What's the process?
Actually, what they're doing is we have a recipe that we mix. It's 30 to 1 carbon and nitrogens or browns to greens.
Yep.
So they're taking a shovel full of some material that actually has been through the process, woody material, that's the browns, that actually inoculates the new material that they're mixing together with the fresh material coming in. That gets mixed up in the tipping building, and then they bring it here, drop it in the hopper, and they send it over to the grinder.
Susan, that shower of ground feedstock, I want to just get under that and bathe in it. I love compost, and that's amazing that that's the next step from the grinder.
That's right.
So what happens now?
So now that we've ground the feedstock to the appropriate size, we're going to take it over to a pad where there's an aeration unit underneath, feeding air all the way up through it. Just like at your home compost pile, you want to keep air in it. Then we're going to cover it with a special fabric that keeps the heat in but allows it to breathe. And that creates a bit of a biosphere, if you will, over the material. It will heat up nicely, stay here for 3 weeks. We will lift the cover, move it for 2 weeks covered, and then move it for 2 more weeks. So that's a 7-week active composting process.
So the process of having the air come up from the tubes and then covering it up is, what you're doing is you're creating the perfect environment to accelerate the breakdown of the composting process.
Exactly, exactly.
And once you get it to the right temperature, which can be up to, in your case, 160 degrees in ideal conditions.
160 to 170, correct.
You're killing off the weed seeds and the pathogens and all the stuff you don't want in your commercial compost.
That's right, Joe. That's exactly what we're doing.
Now, whenever you make compost, you want to have the right amount of oxygen and moisture and get it to the right temperature. At home, it's not that difficult, but it's also not that precise. Here in a commercial setting, they've taken all that into consideration. Now, they have these really fancy probes. This one actually measures the amount of oxygen in the pile. You put it in at about a 45-degree angle, about 2/3 of the way down, and once it lacks a certain amount of oxygen, it kicks on a sensor, and the air that works through those pipes underground, that all starts moving through here and adds more oxygen. First thing that they do. Second thing is that they want to get this thing as hot as possible, and the way that they can measure the temperature is with this probe. It goes all the way in, so they can monitor how hot it's getting, and there's things that they can do to kick that temperature up even more when necessary. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we had something like this at home? Well, so far, they haven't made that I'm aware of, but here, they've got it going on.
Okay, so Joe, you saw where we covered the feedstock, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's actually gone through the process for 5 weeks. It's been covered, aerating on and off. Now we're at phase 3. That's what we're standing in front of, where we have positive air, no cover, and it's going to go 2 more weeks here, but we're still not going to be finished with the compost. That's all the active composting, but we still have to clean out some of this material that we really don't want in the finished product.
Right, some plastic bags. But, you know, overall, I would say that looks really good, considering that's nice and decomposed, but you're going to still clean this up even some more?
Yeah, we're definitely going to clean it up some more before we put it out to market.
Okay, well, just for the record, I'd be really happy with this.
Okay, good.
Okay. So this is like the grand finale. Everything we've seen so far today culminates at this spot with the finished screen compost. Now look at this. How can you resist not reaching in there and just getting a big hunk of that?
I know.
Now you've seen this before, but boy do I love this. That smells good. So tell me about the process here.
So we're in the final stage here. This is the screening phase. We have 3 cuts. One is going to be a filtration product that comes out that side over there. This is our gardening cut. So this is a 1/2-inch cut we use to put in our landscapes and gardens. And then we take the bigger ends and chunks that we really can't use, and that comes off the 3rd cut.
All right. But this is the part that we know and love, and I almost just want to dive in there, but I'll try to resist that.
Okay.
But I do have this urge to just go be alone with the compost for a little while.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Susan, for your time. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much for coming to Cedar Grove. We've enjoyed having you, Joe.
I enjoyed being here. I'll see you later.
Great.
Wow, what I'd give to have access to a mountain of compost like that anytime I needed it. Fortunately, you can make it at home with just a few basic ingredients. But if you're unsure of the process, well, we've got just the place to show you where you can learn to master the art and science of making it yourself. Patty's already there, and I'm on my way now to join her.
Yep, Joe, that's some great looking stuff, but not all of us have access to a Cedar Grove type facility. Besides being a great soil additive, composting keeps waste out of landfills. So it's a really good idea to start your own home composting. It's so easy to do, but you might want to get a little bit of hands-on expert experience. And in this part of the country, Seattle Tilth is the place to do that.
So welcome everyone to the first day of the Master Composter Soil Builder training. Today we're going to be building some yard waste compost piles. We've got a bunch of different materials and I'm going to kind of explain what we're going to be doing with them. We've got some leftover broccoli and collard greens from the garden. We're going to need to get those chopped up and worked into our pile right here for some nitrogen. We've also got a bunch of leaves that have dropped from our trees around here over the fall. We're going to get those chopped up as well and mixed into our pile to add that carbon. We're going to need a couple people to empty this pile out and we're going to build into it with those materials. We're also going to need to add some water to it to work that moisture in and get those decomposers working. So let's go ahead and get to work. We need someone to chop first of all, and I understand we have a chef in the house.
That's me. I'm ready.
Good. So Nathan, if we could bring you over here and get you to chop, that would be great. Patty and Amy, if we could get you guys to come start forking this pile out here. And Robert, if you want to get the hose going.
Look at the chef go.
Woo!
Nice small pieces. Small pieces when you're adding nitrogen or carbon to your compost pile is great. The smaller the better because it just breaks down a lot faster. So if you're in the mood to get some compost in a hurry, you want to break it down like this as much as possible. All right, so they're adding some water at this point, and that's just to keep the pile moist. You want it to the consistency of like a damp sponge. That's going to help all the microorganisms and bacteria break down. And then what they're doing here is they're fluffing it up, and that's introducing a lot more oxygen to it. And then Nathan, he's just tossed in those greens. That's of course the nitrogen component to it. So when you have a blend of nitrogen and carbon, that's really what you're after. And Graham, what do we do, about 50-50 here?
Yeah, the ideal carbon to nitrogen ratio for decomposition is about 30-1, but we say it's a lot easier not to sweat those details and just go for about a 50-50 blend of browns and greens, or carbon and nitrogen. And if you have about that 50-50 blend, it's going to get pretty darn close to that 30-1 carbon to nitrogen.
But there's a few things that you don't want to add. First of all, from the kitchen, you want to keep the grease out, the meat out, and the dairy, because that's not good for a compost pile. A little bit of issues there with pathogens, and it attracts a lot of pests. But otherwise, a lot of that stuff from the kitchen can go in, including the paper towel rolls, so keep that in mind. And then when you're adding things from outside, like all those green waste, something that you don't want to add to the compost pile are any plants that may have some diseases on it, because if your compost pile doesn't get hot enough, you're not going to kill those diseases, and then they're going to overwinter, and you're just going to introduce those back into your garden when you use that compost next season.
What I always say is that
Into the pool.
We really do. I mean, the salad analogy is a great way to think of your compost pile. You're tossing it, you're dressing it with water, of course, and mixing it up and making a nice, delicious additive for your garden. A nutritious additive, just like a salad.
That's looking good, Graham. What do you think? Is that about ready with the moisture? Nice and damp?
Let's take a look. Absolutely. That's a good pile right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen that composting can be done on a commercial basis and you can just buy it, but look how easy it is to do it at home, and when you have some friends around, how much fun it is too. It's a no-brainer. Good job, everybody.
What do you think?
It looks great. Look how fluffy this has gotten too.
Located just down the road from Cedar Grove, Seattle Tilth is a nationally recognized nonprofit organization dedicated to inspiring and educating people to garden organically, conserve natural resources, and support local food systems. They do that one garden at a time through several programs, including classes on organic gardening, permaculture, rain gardens, pruning, raising chickens in urban backyards, and more. So what makes Seattle Tilth so popular?
I think we're a really accessible organization. We have public sites that people can come work in and tour on their own, and our classes are really hands-on and engaging.
What are the different types of things that people can do here?
They can volunteer in our demonstration sites. They can take classes on any number of topics. They can come to big public events that we hold, plant sales and festivals, and those are the main ways.
And you have a lot of growing space around here also.
We do. We have volunteers that manage our gardening space, and they come here and in exchange for their work, they can learn about everything from season extension to growing nice, ripe, juicy tomatoes to any other gardening topic, really. Anything that gets done in the garden, we can teach here.
Well, keep showing me around. I'm excited to check everything out.
Absolutely.
This is a fantastic demonstration garden you have here.
Thanks a lot. We try to teach organic gardening in the city, and that's what we're all about here. One of the popular things that we like to teach in Seattle is about season extension. Cloches and cold frames are two popular methods that we teach here because we want to make sure, or in Seattle we get some cold days and everyone wants to take advantage of gardening even when it's a little too cold out.
Absolutely.
So in this bed right here, what we've got is a soil building demonstration. We've got some alliums planted with a straw mulch, and that breaks down and feeds the soil and makes these plants grow really strong and healthy and be resistant to pests and disease.
This is a great example of how you improve soil.
Definitely. We've got a cover crop here that's fixing nitrogen. Because we teach organic gardening here, we try to get people to steer clear of synthetic fertilizers. So it's putting that nitrogen in the soil and growing this nice big leafy kale green here.
From leafy kale to another favorite crop with edible greens, beets. Here's Chef Nathan Lyon.
You know, the best thing about root vegetables, in my opinion, is how easy they are to make. And that doesn't exclude the beet. And that's why today I'm making a roast beet salad with homemade caramelized walnuts. Delicious. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is to get the beet greens off of the beets, and we'll put the beets inside this little roasting pan here. And make sure you save the beet greens, because they are in fact delicious. There we are. The beets go in there, and the beet greens off to the side. Really simple preparation. Just some fresh thyme, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, all right, right over the top, kosher salt, and freshly ground black pepper. Just like that. And I was grabbing some water because you actually want to add a little bit of water, maybe 1/8 of an inch right to the bottom so they start to steam. And part of that secret is when we're roasting in the oven, when they come out, the skins just slip right off. And in the oven, 350 for these big ones, about an hour. And I'd mentioned these delicious caramelized nuts. We'll do about a medium heat for this. I'm gonna throw a little bit of extra virgin olive oil right in the bottom, maybe a tablespoon. And then also these walnuts. If you like pecans better, no problem. Whatever you like with beets, fantastic. And we'll throw those in there too. And I'm gonna saute them just to coat these nuts with the olive oil. And that's really all it takes. We'll get them nice and warm, so it'll take a lot of these other flavors. We have powdered cumin, and we also have chili powder. So cumin is kind of earthy, and a little bit warm and kind of sweet. And of course the chili powder, that's where the punch comes from, a little bit of heat. A touch of salt is always nice. There we are. And freshly ground black pepper. And we'll toss them so they're evenly coated, just like that. Now this is where the easy part comes in. I mean, how are they candy? Well, you could use regular sugar if you wanted to, but let's add a little bit of flavor and make it even easier for you. We're gonna add this, pure maple syrup, say 2 tablespoons for this amount right here. These are definitely on the hot side. We're gonna add that. There we are. We're left with this wonderful caramelization, and every single piece gets coated evenly. As it cooks down, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and then as it cools, it gets candied. And And that's what we're looking for with this wonderful salad. All right, and that's really all the time it takes. It's super duper fast. So I need to get this out of the pan onto this lightly sprayed sheet pan, just like that. Now I take 2 forks. I don't want them to stick together because when they get really candied, they have a tendency to stick together like one giant clump. And as it cools, it gets harder and harder, just like candied walnuts, and that's what we're looking for. So that's it. We'll clean this up, wait for the beets to finish roasting, and I'll compose the rest of the salad. Now that is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm gonna let this cool for just a little bit, and I'll compose the rest of the salad and make this wonderful red wine vinaigrette. Okay, red wine vinaigrette. I like to have a little pad here on the side. I'm gonna fold it twice, and the reason for that is when I'm whisking anything, so I don't have to kind of hold the bowl and hold the olive oil and whisk at the same time, right there, it's ready for you. I'm gonna add a shallot, because I like that crispiness, that fresh flavor of shallot that comes through. There we go. Wouldn't be a red wine vinaigrette without a little bit of red wine. Maybe a tablespoon and a half. I'm gonna pull this in, because now this is when the action happens. We're gonna whisk in some of this extra virgin olive oil, all right? And there we go, a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's it. Red wine vinaigrette is done. Kosher salt, bingo. Freshly ground black pepper. All right, and that's our vinaigrette. Put that off to the side. Now the beets. When you're peeling these beets, it's pretty easy, but you wanna use a cloth that you don't mind getting a little bit stained, okay? So I'm gonna grab this beet that we know is done, and all I'm gonna do is just grab it and then kind of rub it with my thumb. And look at that. Done. The skin comes right off. Slice this up, and there we go. I'm gonna throw this in with the greens, the vinaigrette. Toss it around. I'm gonna plate this up. Those beautiful beets, that great vinaigrette right on top, and some of this blue cheese. And then some of these wonderful, hear that? These wonderful candied walnuts right on the top. And we are done. This is a roast beet salad. Blue cheese, candied walnuts. Again, beets are so fresh, they're so wonderful. You want this recipe? growingagreenerworld.com, it'll be there right for you. Enjoy.
To know that the best soil amendment you can add to any part of your landscape or garden comes from common yard debris and kitchen scraps is great news. But to realize that in addition to improving your own little corner of the world, you're keeping tons of waste and pollution out of the landfill and atmosphere is even better news. Whether you're just getting started with composting,
A seasoned veteran,
Or buying compost in bags or bulk.
you'll be making a simple but significant action towards growing a greener world.
For additional information, extra videos, and more, visit our website at growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Patty Moreno.
I'm Nathan Lyon.
And I'm Joe Lample, and we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World. Okay, ready? Love this stuff. Somersault, ready? Oh, boy, that was good.